She thought time would make it easier. The longer she stayed away, the more distance she put between you, the less she would care. But something unexpected is happening. Instead of feeling free, confident, and in control, she's feeling restless, anxious, and uncertain. At first, she convinced herself that she didn't need you, that this space was what she wanted, and that she was moving forward without hesitation. But time has a way of revealing the truth. The more time passes, the more she starts to feel the weight of what she lost. She assumed you'd break first, that at some point you'd check in, that you'd crack under the silence and remind her that you still cared. But you never did. Now that small sense of doubt she tried to ignore is growing into something she can't escape. At first she shrugged off your absence, but now she's looking for signs that you still think about her. She's scrolling through old messages, checking to see if you've been online, hoping for some clue that you haven't truly let her go. And when she finds nothing, that's when the pain really sets in. She's realizing something she never expected. You're not just waiting in the background anymore. You're actually gone. And that's a feeling she never prepared for. The slow realization that she's losing you for good. She never expected silence to feel this heavy. At first, she treated it like a break, something temporary, something she controlled. She thought that with enough time, she'd either forget about you or you'd remind her of your presence. But now she's realizing something she never saw coming. Time isn't working in her favor, because instead of fading, the feeling of your absence is growing stronger. Instead of feeling relief, she's feeling anxious. Instead of moving on, she's stuck. And the longer this continues, the more she starts to question everything. At first, she told herself you were probably waiting, holding back on purpose just to test her. But days turned into weeks, and you never reached out. That's when the doubt became unbearable. She starts seeing you differently now. Before, she assumed she had all the time in the world. But as time goes on, she's realizing that time might not be on her side anymore. She starts playing scenarios in her head, imagining what you're doing, who you're with, if you even think about her at all. And the more she wonders, the more she starts to fear the worst. What if you've moved on? What if someone else is getting your attention? What if you've already? She's the only one left, struggling with these emotions. And once those thoughts take hold, they don't let go. She never wanted to admit it, but now she's regretting everything. Not just walking away, not just pushing you aside, but assuming you'd always be an option. Now she doesn't even know if she has a way back in, gripped by the growing panic that she can't reverse this. The worst part isn't just missing you. It's the realization that she might not be able to fix this. In the past, she always had a way back. Even if she ignored you for a while, even if she acted cold or pulled away, she knew she could return when she wanted to. But now she's not sure anymore. Because the longer this silence stretches, the more she starts to feel like she's on the outside, looking in. She's watching your life from a distance, scrolling through your posts, while wondering if you even notice her absence. What makes it worse is that you don't look affected. You're not sending subtle signals that you're still waiting. You're not liking her posts to remind her you're there. You're not orbiting her world, hoping she'll let you back in. And the fact that you're moving forward without hesitation, without resistance, without her, that's what's making her spiral. Before, She had the comfort of knowing she could always reach out and pull you back in. Now she doesn't have that certainty anymore. She types messages and deletes them. She debates reaching out, but freezes at the last second. She overthinks every move, terrified that she's already too late. That's when her fear turns into desperation. She realizes that she's not just missing you, she's losing you, not just physically, not just emotionally, but in the deepest way possible. You're detaching from her completely. And the scariest part, she doesn't know if she can stop it. The crushing weight of realization consumes her. She can't escape it anymore. The panic, the doubt, the sinking feeling in her chest. It's all consuming her now. At first, she thought this would be temporary. She believed that at any moment, she could step back in and reclaim her place in your life. But now she doesn't even know if she still has a place at all. The thought is unbearable because before, she had control. She dictated the pace, the timing, the emotional distance. She was the one who made the decisions. But now she's the one, feeling powerless. And what makes it worse, she's running out of time. Every day that passes, she knows it's slipping further away. In her mind, you were supposed to wait. She counted on it, she expected it, and she believed that no matter what, you'd always be an option, waiting in the background. But as the days stretch into weeks, she's realizing she made the biggest mistake of all, assuming you'd always be there. She starts convincing herself that she needs to act, but she hesitates, not because she doesn't want to reach out, but because she's terrified of what happens if she does. The risk isn't just that you won't respond. The real risk is that you will respond, but you won't be the same. That your words will be colder, that your energy will be different, that the man who once cared, the one who once saw her as someone special, has already moved past her. And once she faces that possibility, her panic turns into something deeper, regret. She thought she could play with time, that she could control it, that she could return when she was ready. But now, time isn't on her side anymore. And the more she waits, the more she feels like she's losing something she can never get back. The unbearable weight of being forgotten. She never thought she'd feel this way. At first, it was just a nagging thought in the back of her mind. It was something she could push aside whenever she wanted. She told herself she was just adjusting, that eventually she'd stop thinking about you altogether. But instead of fading, the thought of you is only growing stronger. She tries to act normal, to go through her days like nothing has changed. But deep down, she feels the shift because everything is different now. The attention she once enjoyed feels empty. Other men try to impress her, but none of them make her feel the way you did. The conversations she used to find exciting now seem forced. She laughs, she flirts, she pretends to enjoy herself. But in the back of her mind, she knows she's only trying to distract herself. Her own thoughts have turned against her. She catches herself replaying old memories, moments she once took for granted. She remembers the way you looked at her, the way you made her feel, and it's hitting her harder than she ever expected. And now, her worst fear is creeping in. For the first time, she has to ask herself a question she never wanted to consider. What if you've forgotten her? She can't stand the thought. She was supposed to be the one who moved on effortlessly. You were the one who was supposed to miss her, not the other way around. But now, she's the one struggling, and that's what's breaking her the most. Before, she felt secure in the idea that you'd always care. She believed she could walk away, live her life, and still have you there, waiting, hoping, ready to pick things back up the moment she decided. But now, she doesn't know where she stands anymore, and that's what's eating away at her. Because if she reaches out and you don't respond the way she wants, if you're cold, detached, uninterested, she'll have to face a truth she's not ready for. That she lost something she thought she'd always have. And that pain is worse than anything she expected, because when she walked away, she thought time would erase her feelings. But instead, time is erasing her place in your life. The longer she waits, the more permanent that erasure becomes. The fear of becoming just another memory. She never thought she'd reach this point, where the silence feels heavier than the connection ever did. And now, it's starting to sink in. This isn't just a temporary shift, a brief pause where she could step away and return whenever she pleased. No, this feels different. Before, she was always in control. She had the luxury of knowing that no matter what, you'd always think about her, that your emotions would keep you tied to her, whether she responded or not. But now she's realizing that time isn't just passing, it's replacing her. She scrolls through her phone, wanting to message you, but she hesitates, not because she doesn't want to, but because she doesn't know if you'll even care anymore. And that uncertainty is eating her alive. She always believed she could come back whenever she wanted, that you'd be sitting there, waiting to pick things up like nothing happened. But now, for the first time, she's questioning everything. Has he already moved on? Does he still think about me the way I think about him? What if he's already given someone else the attention I took for granted? And the more these questions fill her mind, the more desperate she becomes for an answer, because she's starting to see the truth. This situation is no longer on her terms. She thought she had control, but in reality, the moment she let you go, she handed that control over to you. And now you're doing something she never prepared for. You're making her feel replaceable. And that's her worst nightmare. Because when a woman feels like she's just another option, when she realizes she doesn't have a permanent hold on you, that's when the panic sets in. She's not just missing you. She's terrified that she lost you for good. And as that fear takes over, her pride starts to crumble. In the past, she could brush off her emotions, assume you'd always be there, and tell herself she could move on whenever she wanted. But now, she knows that's not true anymore. And the reality is setting in. The longer she stays away, the more she risks becoming nothing more than a distant memory. The breaking point is when she can't take the silence anymore. She's done pretending. The confidence she once had, the certainty that she could walk away and feel nothing, is gone. Because before, ignoring you was easy. She had distractions. She kept herself busy, surrounded by attention, and convinced herself that she was fine. But now nothing feels the same. The messages she used to enjoy feel dry. The attention she used to crave now feels empty. The people she once entertained don't hold her interest. And worst of all, she feels it. The void, the space you used to occupy. She's realizing that no one else makes her feel the way you did. The way you challenged her, made her think, made her feel something deeper. And as much as she tries to fight it, she knows she's not okay with this silence anymore. At first, she told herself she wouldn't reach out, that she wouldn't be the one to break first. But the longer she waits, the heavier the regret becomes. She starts replaying your last conversation, wondering if there was a moment when things truly ended. She scrolls through old pictures, searching for the feeling she once ignored. She finds herself typing a message, then deleting it because for the first time, she doesn't know what to say. This time, she's not the one being chased. She's not the one calling the shots. She's not the one who gets to decide how this plays out. And that's what's breaking her the most, because now she has to face the truth. You were never the one who needed her. She was the one who needed you. And when she finally understands that, that's when she realizes the silence isn't just a game. It's a consequence, one that she might not be able to undo. When she finally breaks, the silence becomes unbearable. She thought she was strong enough to handle this. She convinced herself that time would work in her favor, that she could go on living her life without feeling the weight of what she left behind. But time didn't do what she expected. Instead of healing her, instead of making her forget, time made everything worse. The more days that pass, the more she feels it, the emptiness, the uncertainty, the growing sense of loss. And now she's at war with herself. Her pride tells her to stay silent, but her heart is screaming at her to do something. She tries to silence the thoughts, to distract herself, but nothing works. She goes out more, but somehow everything feels dull. She talks to other people, but none of them hold her attention. She forces herself to smile, to act unbothered, but deep down, she's exhausted. Because this isn't just about missing you. This is about realizing she miscalculated everything. She thought she could replace you. She thought she could take her time. She thought you would always be there. But now she's realizing she might have been wrong about all of it. And that's what's driving her to the edge. Because when a woman starts to believe she lost something rare, something valuable, something she can't get back, that's when the panic turns into action. She doesn't just want to check in anymore. She needs to know where you stand. She needs to know if she still has access to you. She needs to know if you've moved on without her. She needs to know if you still see her the way you once did, or if she's truly been replaced. So she starts testing the waters. A random message, a social media post that's clearly meant for you, a subtle attempt to trigger a reaction. But the thing is, she's not in control anymore. Now you hold the power. And as she sits there waiting, watching, hoping for a sign that she still has a hold on you, the truth starts to settle in. She wanted to believe time would bring clarity, but instead time only made her realize she was never prepared for this kind of regret. And now she has to live with it. If this opened your eyes, watch the next video on your screen. The second you understand this, you'll never see relationships the same way again.